Are you familiar with the market, the global market, where EV adoption is the fastest in the world? Yeah. And that is Norway.
Yeah.
And is Norway a tropical country, or is it a northern country?
Yeah, I have a few. Norway, I think it's a fair argument. The thing with Norway is they never put in a mandate. They didn't choose the technology. They made it very enticing to choose one, right? And that's on the demand side of the equation, which once again is not the goal of the EVAS. It's also a centralized country where there was no difference between sorry, thank you.
Mr. Kingston, I just wanted to start with you. The Liberal government paused the 2026 EV mandate, citing market challenges and industry pressures. I'm just wondering, what does that pause say about the overall feasibility of the government's approach, in your opinion?
I think the pause is a recognition that this regulation isn't working and the targets are unfeasible. We were on track for 9.7% sales for this year, and getting to that 2026 target would require that 200% plus increase in sales. So I think the government recognized that the regulation is not working.
And we've often heard a reference to Norway when they're talking about the adoption. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of opportunity about why that's a little bit of an outlier.
A total outlier, and I don't think it's a fair comparison. Majority of the population in Norway lives in one urban area in Oslo, so the driving distances are nowhere close to what you would see here in Canada. We have 1.1 million kilometers of public two-lane road in this country. 20% of the population lives in rural communities and significant northern communities where driving distances are large and communities depend on diesel-fired or powered electricity. So the Norway comparison really doesn't pan out here at all. On top of that, Norway has used significant revenues from its oil and gas industry to put in place subsidies at a scale that we would never do in Canada to incentivize the purchase of EVs. So I think the Norway example is not fair.
And also, what's happening in other major auto-producing regions like the UK, Germany, other parts of the EU?
Well, virtually every jurisdiction that has put in place an EV mandate has had to back off it, recognizing it's not working. So California adjusts their targets so often it's almost laughable now. Well over 10 times where they put in place targets are missed and then they adjust. The UK has backed off their target. Europe is now backing off some of their targets because they realize that these policies don't work.
Thank you. Something that we've heard several times when I've brought up the lack of feasibility in rural and remote areas, we'll often hear that there's misinformation and we have to, bust the myths. I want to give you an opportunity to expand on, is it that rural residents are misinformed, or is it that this is not, this disproportionately impacts them in a negative way? Can you expand?
It disproportionately impacts them in a negative way, and that's what Environment Canada has said. The issue is this. When a consumer buys a vehicle, they buy it for all of the needs that they will have. And so, while it's true that if you look at average driving distance of Canadians, maybe it is only 50 or 40 kilometers you drive a day, but if twice a year you drive 1,200 kilometers, which is very normal for a lot of Canadian families, you're going to want a vehicle that can meet all of those needs. And that's the challenge that we have. Early adopters have bought their EVs, and you saw a lot of that in urban areas, particularly in more wealthy neighborhoods where people were buying an EV as a second or a third vehicle. Those people, we have satisfied that part of the market. We're now moving into mass market adoption. A household, 2 kids, $40,000 absolute max budget, and they got family all over the province. That person, trying to convince them into an EV with 450 kilometers of range is a very tough sell at this point. We'll get there. The technology will get better, but it's a tough sell. And if government mandates it, you're going to have pushback, which we do not want to have happen for this technology.
Thank you. Also, to meet the 2030 target, EV sales would need to grow at 45% every year. Do you see any evidence that such a growth rate is achievable?
Not possible. The only way it could be achieved would be with massive government purchase subsidies, but the cost of which would be quite significant to the fiscal.
And also, analysis published in the Canadian Journal of Economics suggested that EV mandates outpace cost parity and consumer demand, and Canadians could potentially face a collapse of its auto manufacturing sector, the loss of more than 100,000 jobs. How concerned should Canadians be about that risk?
Hugely concerned. This industry is critically important to the Canadian economy, and the only study that's been done in the Canadian Journal of Economics, which is a peer-reviewed analysis, shows that the EV mandate would effectively destroy, that's the terminology, effectively destroy the Canadian auto industry at a time when we're under massive pressure from U.S. tariffs. This is the last thing that the sector needs.